Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews, Series 4 Heat B. And after the not too bad, basically just Chaos 2 fodder heat, we actually get quite a nice heat actually for the next one. This is one of the better heats of Series 4 in my opinion. And I'm joined by Anderson 9132.
Oh baby, yes, I'm finally on Series 4.
Yay!
Yes,
And it's not bad,
finally.
and you start off with an okay heat for once.
Yeah, now I'm gonna heat seat next time.
Ah.
Bugger.
At least you have Sam to sort of soften the blow slightly. Yes, and yeah,
Blows.
not too bad. But I mean, this heat. I mean, compared to the first heat, the first heat was all right, but it was mostly just Chaos 2 beating up on loads of robots.
Yes.
He actually had two competent robots getting to the heat final, and either one could have won this heat. So it's sort of like who's gonna break down first? Spoilers: it was Razer.
Yeah. As JP said, literally right before Razer broke down, I actually do agree with him on this one. That again, I'm not the biggest Razer fan in the world, but I will say this that he was right in saying that this could have easily been a grand final battle.
I agree.
Just how good the two robots were. I mean, like I said, I'm not a fan of Razer, but I do respect it because it was a good robot. So
That's
and
true.
Pussycat was Bay.
It was, and speaking of such robot, of course, the heat winner, of course, after spectacularly losing in the really unlucky fashion in a way in series 3, we now have the 19th seeds Pussycat. I think not an actual alright seeding for a change. I mean, there are some wonky seeds. Obviously, I'm doing the bullshit seed award in this series, and this one, I think 19's decent for what it was, considering it was a grand finalist, then a failure in series 2, and then could have been the semi-finalist in series 3. But
Yeah, it was definitely one of the robots that deserved the higher seedings of the second lot, in my opinion, and it got a higher seeding in the second because obviously you get the top 16 and then the bottom 16. This one was one of the higher ones in the bottom 16, which I agree to.
Yeah, I'll never stop mentioning it though. Kilohertz got a higher seeding than Pussycat. Still don't know how that works. It still hasn't won a single battle yet. On UK soil, it's not won a single battle televised yet. But somehow,
hey, James, it's got a higher seeding than Cerberus, the robot that beat it
fuck me.
in the last one. I don't understand this logic. What is this madness?
I don't.
Invertebrate heat finalist didn't get one. What?
No. Yeah, but honestly, this Pussycat. I mean, this is the first series we finally get to see the patented Pussycat blade, and
that blade
it's
was
beautiful. And wasn't it? I believe it was who was it? Robert Bettington who made it.
Robert Bettington, yes.
Yeah, I mean
Robert Bettington. If you're watching this, which you probably aren't, but if you are, I love you, man. I mean, this blade actually made my childhood worth living.
He's
So
sort of like the silent third member of the Pussycat team. Obviously, you've got
Yeah.
Alan Gribble, David Gribble, and you've got a lot of people kind of forget he kind of exists. But in a way, you wouldn't have the blade without him.
Yeah, exactly. Without him, Pussycat would never have been that killer robot.
No, because let's face it.
He was silent and deadly. That's what Robert Bettington was. He was a silent but deadly killer.
Let's
Thank
face
you,
it.
Rob.
Let's face it. Even with all the driving skill that David Gribble had,
Yes.
let's face it. The blade would not have done anything without the fact that it could do damage in the series. In Series 3, none of its blades were just standard saws. They weren't anything special. While Series 4, this actually could ripped over armor. This kind of like this actually ripped over armor multiple times. It could break wheels. It could do anything. It was like a really good, really powerful cutting blade, and
It literally made Reptiron shit itself.
yes, it managed to make some nice shredded chicken. Also, nice shredded wheels as well in the case of Razer.
Also, we get a bit of a spoiler alert here, but also one of the very, very, very few robots to puncture through Dominator 2's armor.
That is true. Yeah, I mean it's very rare that Dominator 2 gets lots of damage attacked to it, so it's actually quite amazing to see something actually rip over a robot that successfully. And this, I mean, let's face it.
Man. It's just so well designed.
It's one of the most almost perfectly vision designs you could get. I mean, look at it.
It's perfect.
I know. I see what we did there. And obviously, of course, this is the pseudo barnyard animal. And there's a few actually in this heat. Surprisingly, actually, there's
3.
well, actually, there's 4 if you include Pussycat.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Of course,
I mean,
yeah.
only Razer and Ripteron don't count really.
And technically, Razer was part bird, part reptile. It's
I guess-
half barnyard animal here.
I guess so. Well, so like 4.5.
4.5 we'll go with it.
Repteron is definitely
Well,
not anything.
What I will say, I mean, I just love Pussycat's design because, like you said, it's perfectly designed in the fact that it can't be flipped over properly. It will always manage to get back onto its wheels. Its blade was a massively awesome killer. It was very reliable.
Hmm.
Only got KO'd once, if I remember correctly, and that was in the All Stars tournament in Stream 1. Spoiler alert. And yeah, it's just an all-round really good robot. It's actually to the point where it's my second favourite robot of all time.
After Firestorm, of course.
After Firestorm, of course. Firestorm is still Bay.
It definitely
Apart from in Heat C, obviously.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. But I mean, this is definitely one of my top 10 favorite robots as well, because it's just visually it's so perfect. I mean, like, it's a robot. It's a pussycat. Why is it called Pussycat? Always lands on its feet or its wheels in this particular case. But I just love the fact it's just conceptually it's a great design, and thankfully, even when it didn't have the great saw in Series 3, it still worked really well. And it's hard to believe some robot like this can actually be driven really well, but man, David Gribble found a way. He found a way to drive this robot somehow, and he's perfect, and so is this robot. And then, of course, we have the runner-up. I don't know if this should really be third seed. Debatable. I don't know, but it is Razer.
Okay, the seeding thing, right? I agree. Razer should be in the top 16 seeds. It's world champion. Fair play. It deserves a seeding for that. It deserves to be recognised for that alone. But number 3, not too sure about that. I'd say anywhere between 10 and 16. I'd go for.
I would probably give it maybe like
or maybe 8. Maybe it's somewhere between 8 and 16. I'd say.
Yeah, I think it's more acceptable because I don't think it can deserve to be in the league with the semi-finalists. Particularly something like Gemini, which is like 3 times semi-finalist. So it's like it's
2 times semi-finalist.
Oh yeah, sorry, almost. I was thinking of actually I was thinking of Panic Attack for some reason. I don't know why. But
yes.
There's a few. I know I thought that, but Razer. This is one of Razer's better performances in a heat. Of course, they actually were pretty dominating in their heat, and then unfortunately, of course, the heat final had to happen, and then things happen with Razer. It's just, I mean, this is the last series. This is actually for them. This is the last series, thankfully, where they don't seem to end up killing,
breaking
dying
down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for second series they just broke down out of nothing. We still don't really know what happened to Razer in Series 2. Series 3, they pinned themselves to the floor, and in Series 4 they got stuck in forward drive. I mean, it's just everything. I mean, at least they won the Southern Annihilator. All right.
And the Pinball, hooray! And the World Championship. And the International League. Oh, bloody hell.
Actually, correction, Series 3 Pinball.
Series 3 Pinball? Oh, yes, Series 4 Pinball. Awful.
No, they didn't really care, I don't think, in Series 4. They should have won their outfits, they would have won again.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've always talked about Razer, at least, I've talked about Razer 4 times now, International League, the World Championship, Series 2 and Series 3. It's getting old at this point. I mean, again, I don't hate Razer, it's very samey after a while. Razer, but I mean, I'll give them credit. They did really well in this heat up until the heat final. They were actually, if they had won this heat, I would have gone fair play, Razer. You deserve that. And then,
as Craig Charles would say, I thought this could be their year.
They have one more year to go until that. One more year to go.
Okay.
Of course, it's my least favorite series. Of course, it is as well.
Yeah, it's ironically there. Yeah.
It's not because Razer won. Don't worry, they actually did earn their place in Series 5, but
they did earn it in all.
They had it coming for a while. I mean, honestly, they were more unlucky in this series, I think, than the other series because they were particularly good. But
yeah, they'd almost fastened all the little screws, hadn't they? But there's just that one little screw that screwed them over.
I see what you did there. And then we'll go to the second of the barnyard animals. I mean, there's a lot in this heat, as we said, and they didn't even change it whatsoever. Millian Bug.
They changed it. They put a wig on it.
Oh no, sorry, yeah, they put a wig on it. That makes all the difference. I mean, you can see all the scratches from the previous series. You can see all the dents, all the wheels, everything. Actually, it didn't really take any damage in Series 3. That's basically it drove in the pit. So, Yeah.
But I want to say this about Millian Bug, really. It's not really about the robot, but it's actually about the team. I just think they're brilliant. I mean, because they literally watched their robot get pulled apart and just laughed at it. I loved it. It's a fair play to I can't say anything wrong with them on that.
It's true. I mean, the team are really fun, and also the robot. In fairness, you never meant to take this robot seriously.
Oh no.
I'm still
it was
surprised.
Nice to see it come back. To be honest, just to see it get mauled on. It was nice to see it come back.
I mean, I'm still surprised how they can drive this robot to a decent degree, considering it's a really weird design. Like, I still don't know really how they managed to do it, but I mean, it still kept bouncing around. Like, at one point, one of its segments got stuck on its side,
Yes.
which is hilarious.
Good old shunt.
I love that. I love that the segments can actually turn as well. Like, you don't think that would be a feature you put on, but apparently they thought, why not? Let's make all the segments turn all the way around. But
Yes.
it'd be weird if one of the segments got stuck upside down and one wasn't. That would be. I want to know how to get out of that situation.
Yes, because I don't think they could pull themselves along, could they?
No,
So,
I don't know. I
bit
mean,
of a design flaw there, but oh well.
I mean, I do. I mean, thankfully the hairdo did come back from Series 2 because it was absent in Series 3 and it felt so bold as a result.
Yep.
But
And it also, of course, led for one of JP's best lines ever, which I will get to when we get to that battle.
of course, I think I might know the one you're talking about, but I'll
Yes.
confirm when we get to it. But yeah, Millie Handbook. It's an interesting design. I mean, again, the last time we'll see Millie Handbook after it's weird because you forget it's in 3 series, but it's not as memorable for some reason, even though it's like been there for that long. I mean, it's been there since Series 2, but oh well. That's Millie Handbook
Yeah.
for you. And then, of course, we have the third Barnyard robot, which is probably one of the funniest moments of Series 4 for me. Is just the whole team and the robot in general is a Robo Chicken. Oh, where do I begin with Robo Chicken? I mean, I love it. It's one of those robots that somehow over time got more serious. Oddly enough.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, this is their most light-hearted performance. I mean, you just see them bobbling the stupid little hats, and they're so. I mean, to its credit, this thing would not die for a very long time. It kept going despite how much shit Keel kept throwing at it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's both.
Great fun. It was a pointless pecker. That sounded rude. A useless flappy thing at the other end. It's Robo Chicken. I love it. It's great.
It was very unlucky in Series 7.
Very unlucky in Series 7. And I also say to a degree Series 5 and Series 6 as well, because I think personally, I think personally they should have won against Crustacean, because that was a close fight. And I think in Series 6, had Exterminator not flipped them over, Barbaric Response and Scorpion would have died, and they would have kept going, because they were still mobile at the end when they got rewrited by Kilowatt.
Yeah, I agree on the Crustacean battle. I do think they won that one. But I think Series 7 was more saddening because they got so close.
They got so close to the semis. They wouldn't have made it past Ball or Breed. But
of course, it was tough as fucking nails managed to take him out. Of course.
No, yeah.
That's more irritating.
Fair, I'd say Tough as Nails would deserve that one though.
Oh, they deserved it, but it's just irritating. That's the robot that took him out.
Yeah.
I mean, spoilers for Series 7 and Series 8. I'm not a big fan of Tough as Nails, so. But
I'm not a massive fan of them, but I kind of respect it because it was it was, to be fair, a clever idea. And also, it was the first robot to introduce Hardock's armor, which of course is now a regular thing. Technically, it was before its time. Anyway, that's enough about Tough as Nails. On to Robo Chicken. Yes.
Yeah. Also, I did like the fact that on a few occasions the eyes kept getting cut off in this series, particularly.
Sorry, I just remembered that leads to another favourite JP line, which again I'll get to when we get to that battle. This episode is full of them.
It's quite a memorable heat. This heat, particularly. It's after my
It is
top.
very memorable, yeah.
In terms of like the base heats, not including like semi-finals and specials, it's probably one of my top 5 favorites, just because of the great robots in it, and also some of the great the quotability of this heat.
Yeah.
And then of course we get to a robot that for some reason will become Ironside 3. I don't know how it did from Velociripper, but it did. And I mentioned this in Series 3 how the change from just this spike wedge, just not even really a wedge thing, to a decently destructive spinning bar is kind of weird. But and also it's a mouse as well. They also have made the team mouse as well. They're also a little separate kind of company.
Cheeky Mighty Mouse.
Sort of like a different separate company from the Velociripper team. But with the Velociripper, they finally actually got to have a go in the battle, and of course they break down in the first round. Just like they did in Series 3.
Again, they were very unlucky there because, I mean, I don't want to see that had gone to the judges. Robo Chicken would have lost that. They took way more damage. But obviously, along comes Razer, nom nom nom, flame pit, dull, done. There you go.
I think they kind of suffered from like the same thing that Rambot suffered from, where they were very fast, but not really much control.
Yeah.
Like the
problem is it had car steering.
Yeah,
Like Killer had. So it had like a really wide touch. And of course, As they mentioned, when Razer did a little teeny tiny nip at the front, and we'll go into that again in a minute in the battle, but it took out their steering a little bit. It made their steering more wonky. So they had bad steering as it was, but it was made even worse by Razer.
It wasn't a very good performance in Series 4, and honestly, Velociraptor really doesn't ever has probably one of the worst track records, doesn't it? I think in Robot Wars. So,
Yeah, one of the worst. I mean, it never won a battle, and it was probably I think it was the only robot to appear in more than one or two series without winning a battle.
Here we go. Here we go. Along with Joker from the American series and Terra Turtle, it has the lowest win to loss ratio at 0 to 5.
Jesus,
Ouch! Ouch! Even there are actually robots with better win to loss ratios, such as Little Fly.
Yay! Yeah, but Little Fly's underrated, yo. That should have been a semi-finalist. Anyway,
Little Fly has Henry has a higher ratio win to losses.
Oh, Henry. Good
Robo Pig.
Napalm.
It's weird to think that there's some of these really robots we make fun of. Even PS Resistance got past the first round.
Even technically Warhog, okay, it never won a battle, but it's still because it was in less series.
Yeah.
Technically, it did better.
Well, technically the ratios are still percentage. It's still 0%, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just.
If you're gonna go by that, then yeah, 0%.
I think, but they got the most losses to win ratio. I guess that's probably more appropriate rather than just particular percentage. But either way, I mean, it's just amazing how many. I mean, it's just you always forget like some of these robots. Like even in Terra Turtle, obviously you kind of expect or something like that, and Joker was never that great either. But you think Velociraptor would have got one somewhere, but it's just even when they made the bulky version for like Series 7 and 6, they still. I mean, it didn't appear in Series 6, but in Series 7, he thought maybe he could have a chance, and they still didn't get it. Still didn't manage to get in. So, well, that was Velociraptor for you. But at least they have Ironside 3. That's and also technically Mighty Mouse has done more than they have. That's kind of.
Mighty Mouse made a heat final, which actually scares me.
It does scare me, and yet Velociraptor doesn't.
It was also a silver medal winner in the Assault course at Techno Games as well.
I believe that actually that's more credible because it is quite a nippy, it's quite a maneuverable robot, so that's not as bad. But in actual battle, I'm very surprised.
Yeah,
I mean that's more shocking to me, getting a battle victory.
Yes.
Well, more of a battle running away victory.
Yes.
We'll get to that on Series 7. Jesus.
Jesus.
And then
anyway, sorry.
And then of course, last but not least, if you want a moving file, like a really old filing cabinet with a saw attached to it, then Repteron is your robot, because this robot barely moved its entire heat. I mean, it moved like a forward and back a little bit, then got completely sliced
moved
up.
forward, turned around, and got its arse ripped off, and that was.
Yeah, and got pushed conveniently towards Sergeant Bash. I wonder why.
Yes.
Man, I mean, thank goodness at least the Series 7 version got past the first round, because this imagine if they'd only appeared in this series, this would have been a bit kind of. I mean,
and technically, the team do hold a trophy to the name. They won the featherweight championship in Extreme 2.
Yes, they did. Which
that's
one of the greatest robot names ever made in the series. I always keep forgetting that's a Repteron team because the Series 7 version had a nice flipper on it. It actually got past the first round because it was actually it could move faster than 2 miles an hour. The Series 6 version didn't even move at all. I swear, I don't remember that robot moving at all either.
It literally crawled across the arena and then it just died.
Yeah,
it was funny.
Very similar to how this one did actually. But
yes. I'll give it this though. Its saw was quite quick, wasn't it? I mean, if you look at it, it goes down slowly, obviously, like it should, to add like a piercing action. But when it goes up, it flings straight back up. It's brilliant.
It's not really that useful though. It going up quickly. You hope it to go down quickly.
Well, it could have self-righted the robot if it worked.
I don't think so. You put too much credit into Repteron. Also, this is only something that a guy has randomly combed through the wiki would know about. But here's a little fun thing. The only fun fact about Repteron: its name is an anagram of Terrapin.
Oh, I never knew that.
Weird, isn't it? I mean, obviously the robot from Series 3 failed to qualify for Series 4, but yeah, Terrapin. It's one of those weird little facts. Unless you check the wiki, you'd never think of it. But yeah, that's actually.
Who actually thought to check that out, though? I want to know that.
Well, actually,
did they just say that one? Did they just say what's an anagram? Did the team do that on purpose, or was that just a case of it turns out that this coincidentally is an anagram for Terrapin?
I doubt they did it on purpose. I mean, I can kind of see why someone might see that because it's like a double R already. So you see like the terror, and I can see maybe you go, oh yeah, it's an anagram actually, but. Random fact of the day. There we go. And also bullshit on the top speed of 15 miles an hour. This robot barely moved 2. I mean, I'm sure in testing it can move that fast, but I'm sure in the actual arena, no.
I think they might have suffered from radio result control problems. I'm not too sure. It was jittering around a bit. But...
It didn't. It looked like a robot that was suffering from something.
Either way, it was pants and it lost. Good. Right, anyway.
It lost in quite spectacular fashion as well.
It did.
Of course, we'll get to the eliminators, and the first one is the third seed Razer versus Velociraptor versus Robo Chicken. And this was 90% Razer picking on Robo Chicken.
Yeah. It was funny, though. I mean, this was one of those battles which had me laughing as a child. And even to this day, I mean, like I say, I find Razer boring for the most part, but it does have those battles where I do enjoy them. And in all fairness, all 3 of its battles in this heat I actually do enjoy.
Actually,
I'm not going to lie.
The funny thing about Robo Chicken's face is that it always looks like it's constantly in pain when Razer's grabbing into it.
One of my favourite moments is when Razer grabs Robo Chicken from the front. So it like pierces it on its, what I guess you could say is the shoulder of the robot.
I guess so.
And you could just see Robo Chicken's pecker just gently tapping it on the side as if that's going to get them off. Imagine that, though. Imagine if it spiked them and not the removable link out. That would be so damn funny. It would be unreal.
I mean, obviously, because of how shit Velociraptor's steering was, it spent most of the time just driving around in circles around the action. And of course, the one time it gets attacked, it breaks.
Yeah.
Of course.
Occasionally we get I think it got like 2 hits in.
It bumped into the action occasionally, but
that was about it.
The weird thing is, if it actually had gone to a judge's decision, I actually would have actually knocked a Velociraptor out. On the basis that they were doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, honestly, I'd prefer if your robot's in the action. I mean, fair enough. Okay, Robo Chicken was getting attacked all the time, but it was in the action. It was trying to attack Razer, whilst Velociraptor was just doing nothing the entire time. And
that is actually a very good point.
It's why also I'm not why in the last heat I wasn't annoyed that Attila the Drum got knocked out, because again, but they didn't do anything but spin around and hope robots ran into them. Here it's the same thing. Well, it doesn't matter in the long run because they still bloke down. But that would be the non-aggression is a massive minus point for me in a battle.
Yeah,
which is like
lack of control. I mean, like I said, at least Robo Chicken was actually trying to get its axe into play.
Robo Chicken's more controlled and actually got a few hits to the weapon if they were really weak, and also it was more in the action and actually tried to actively attack Razer even if it kept getting killed all the time. But yeah, Velociraptor didn't do anything, and then the one time it gets involved, it gets its steering fucked up and rams straight into the wall and then just dies.
Yeah.
It was...
I'd also like to take time to just quickly mention that JP fantasizing about barbecue was a little bit too creepy for my liking.
A little bit. Also, the JP...
He's almost orgasming over it.
Don't count your chickens before they're shredded, demolished. I love that quote.
This is literally full of brilliant JP quote. I mean, in fact, there you go. Here's an award for you. JP quoted the series.
I'm gonna definitely add in that somewhere. That's definitely a contender anyway. But
Yeah,
I mean, the first this heat gave a lot of material for him to riff on with all the robots and stuff. So again, this is why I like this heat, because it's very memorable. Even if the robots aren't the best, like Millie Amberg or Robo Chicken, it's still fun to watch and memorable. So it's something. But either way, it didn't really stop the fact that Velociraptor managed to die, because that's its theme.
It was a shame, really. But yeah, I agree with you actually, Jonathan. Now that you mention it, I do think Velociraptor would have probably lost by judges. I think what was really cool was that the way Kidalot just grabbed it, because it caught it by its tooth, but it sort of just slipped a little bit, so it just flew up and then landed on its side. that was even that was funny. I mean, oh jeez, it was just hilarious. Full stop.
Yeah, but either way, Velociraptor goes out, Razer and Robo Chicken go through, and then the next battle we have the 19th seeds Pussycat against Millie Amberg versus Reptaron, and this is like one-hit KO on Reptaron. I mean,
I want to say this was almost perfect placing. I mean, they not only just literally drove on the back and they just turned around and whacked it in the back and destroyed it. First of all,
yeah,
and then they just gently nudge it, and it's just the right position for Sergeant Bash's flames to reach it from like a good few feet away as well. It wasn't like it was right next to Bash. I mean, he literally just shot his flamethrower in the general direction the robot was, and it caught fire.
I mean, obviously, a lot of people look at Dietor for moments of fire, and I think the other two contenders, I think, for the funniest fire damage was probably this and Granny's Revenge in Series 5, of just the funniest, just up in smoke type damage, and this is definitely one of them. And I just love the fact that even when it's on the arena flipper, part of its saw is on fire as well, because some of the material's gone into it.
Yeah,
so it's just like all of it's like it's spreading fire all over the arena. And let's face it, Millie Amberg didn't have to do anything in this fight at all. I mean, they got damaged slightly by Pussycat took off one of the little the wheel hubs on it, which started wobbling a little bit. But
Yes.
but in fairness, they didn't have to do anything. They didn't really do any aggression this entire heat, apart from maybe shove Reptron slightly. But
Yeah, they gently nudged it, I think, at one stage, didn't they? Also, I just like to point out that Refbot's fire extinguisher was completely and utterly 100% sodding useless.
it was. It always it was
I
in
mean,
this series.
it was always no, it always was full stop. I thought because I mean, every time it was on fire, it was just spraying at it, and it just wasn't demolishing the fire. For God's sake! I mean, it's like in Extreme One All Stars when Kidlock caught fire, and it comes along with this piddly little fucking fire extinguisher. Tries to put it out. Kidlock gives up and just goes over one of the CO2 jets instead on the floor.
I mean, how much fluid fell out of Reptron? It pissed itself. It really did. Like it went flying
It was
all
like
over the place.
it was like watching a really old person walking around a nursing home, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was hot.
Apologies for that image, everyone.
Although this was a lot more enjoyable to watch. Let's face it.
Yes. Probably not as flammable though. Anyway.
Definitely not. But let's face it, Reptron. Actually, I'd probably say out of all the first round losers, I think Reptron probably was one of the weakest. I mean, it didn't import any fire at all. It just got tacked in one go. I mean, it wasn't a good day for Reptron. It has to wait until Series 7 to get past the first round. So, good luck, boys.
Yeah.
And of course, also we'll go through the side events before one of the side events. And the first one we'll go through, of course, is the Pinball. Pinball. I was doing a little bit doing different order this time. Of course, we'll go for Pinball, and of course, it is Hypnodisc in the Pinball. And to their credit, they were a lot more driven than I thought they were going to be.
Yes.
I mean, 135 points for this stage they actually were leading because out of 2 robots. But
the thing about the Hypnodisc as well is it isn't really a robot you'd see as ideal to compete in the Pinball, mainly because it has a round front with the flywheel. And because the flywheel wasn't working, it would like move, so it would like try to push things like the barrel or something, and it would sort of like slip a little bit. Basically they had to reverse their way around most of it. But they got an admirable amount. They got more than 101, which was a robot that was ideal for the Pinball. So I guess I have to give them credit where it's due there.
I mean, overall in the series, didn't they came like 4th, 5th, somewhere. It was
about 6th, I think, something like that.
Because the top 3 at the end was Gemini, Spawn and Scudder, and King B3. I know that.
Kilohertz.
Was it Kilohertz? Oh yeah, I forgot about Kilohertz.
Kilohertz number 3.
Oh yeah.
In fact, if Kilohertz had gotten the car door, they would have won the whole thing.
Maybe, they would have, yeah. But
no, they would have. They would have gotten 25 extra points, and they were 20 points behind Gemini.
Ouch. But
and you know what's really upsetting? They were about to drive through it, and then they broke down.
Of course. God damn it, Kilohertz. This is why Terahertz exists, right? This is why Terahertz exists, because Kilohertz was so unreliable. God damn it. But yeah, I mean, again, it's not a robot I would pin as a really great, maneuverably well-driven robot, but it's a respectable score at least. It's above 100, which a lot of robots, loads of robots didn't manage to get over 100. So,
as we're about to get into in the next bloody heat, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we'll get to that in the next heat, of course. But of course, we'll go to the next round, and the first round is Razer versus Millianbug. Oh
Quote
boy!
One from JP.
Go on.
Of course, is when Millianbug's hair catches fire. And what would you like, sir? A number 1 cut, a number 2 cut, where like it burnt straight off? I'll have the burn, thank you.
I mean,
this day has me laughing.
And I mean, if you're on the wiki, just look at a picture of Millianbug after the battle, like right near the end. It is just it's just one. So I think it had one wheel left by the end of it. Even that was broken. It had one wheel that was broken. Its hair is messed up. Shouldn't really went to town with it. Dead metal sawed the back of it. It's just scratches. It's got a bit of burn damage. The hair's burnt and wrecked. It's just
holes on it. No, well, like I said, 3. I mean, it was just so funny. It's such a sad sight to look at, but you can't help but laugh.
It was so right. I think this is probably hands down the most precise and accurate and strangely satisfying way to take out a robot. Just take every wheel off it one by one. I think JP described it as like a schoolboy taking the legs off a spider.
Yes.
That's exactly what it felt like. It was painful to watch, but you couldn't stop looking.
It was almost like watching Hostel.
A
Just
little,
watching all this
yeah.
torture of this poor little bug-shaped robot just being pummeled and destroyed. And oh, sorry, I forgot there was another great JP quote as well when you mentioned the hair. When Shunt whacked the hair and like ripped the hair off, it looked like spaghetti that had been in the pan too long.
It does. It really does. And I'll give props to the team for taking it really well, but it
Oh, they did.
does.
They laughed their asses off.
Although I got to admit though, this fight in the obviously we know the infamous moment in this heat, but it'll come back to bite Ian Lewis in the arse. I think this particular fight,
Yes.
in a certain way. I'll mention it. I'll mention it. But let's just say, remember that image of Milliamber completely destroyed, and then we'll talk about the epilogue of this, the little
Yeah.
final bit of this heat. But yeah, either way, let's face it. What could a Milliamber done against Razer? It was the perfect grabbing shape as well. It could have been grabbed at any angle, and something would have broken on it.
The only thing that really sadly didn't happen, I really wanted to happen, was Razer, and they tried to do it. They tried to break the two segments apart, and it didn't quite happen.
No, I mean it was the wrong. It was too. It would have been too a precise grab. I think if it was something like Sergeant Bash, it would be a lot easier. But
Yes,
yeah, or like Wobot or some robot with like a bottom jaw. But it was just kind of Razer. It was just okay. But actually, to his credit, technically Milliamber was still moving. It just had no wheels to move with. I like you see the axles spinning in vain. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I love it. It's like when you like see like a robot and it's like a mobile, and you can see its wheels spinning underneath it. It's like, why the hell are you bothering to spin the wheels? You can't get back up. So what's the point?
Actually, no, the funniest two examples for me, both of them were walkers in the series. Was Claude Hopper being flipped over. And also Millennium Bug, the little poor little pathetic movement of the legs trying to get any purchase on the ground. But
you're like, what are you doing? Why are you still trying to move? You're upside down. You're buggered.
I mean, buggered. So it did there. But
I didn't actually mean to do that. But all right, cool. I'll do that.
Oh, that's going in the episode title. But
yes.
I mean, let's just say though, I think this is the closest we can get to Robot Wars torture. It really is. This is what Robot Wars torture is. I mean, I'm not watching to next heat. I mean, this is actually, the torture of the robots themselves, not of the viewers.
Yeah. Not torture. And good God, I'd rather have my eyes ripped out than watch this heat ever again.
It's true, but I mean, this is one of the reasons again why this heat is so memorable. It's so fun. But and then of course we get actually a nice little battle for the next one. Not as destructive, but in its own way pretty brutal. Was Pussycat against Robo Chicken. Just slowly shredding this robot up was kind of funny and also kind of sad to watch. But especially see a picture of Robo Chicken by the end of the battle. It's got pieces taken out of it.
JP quote number 3.
Oh, okay.
When Robo Chicken tries to fire his axe and loses his eye, he goes, "Oh, aye. What happened?" I don't know why, but every time he says that, I laugh.
It's funny actually when you see a picture of Robo Chicken after the battle. It just doesn't look like the same robot. It's just there's pieces falling off it. There's so many cuts and bruises, and both the eyes have been ripped off.
Wheels are now exposed because the wheel guards have been ripped to shreds. The flipper frame is now visible.
Yeah,
it got chewed to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm surprised how much pushing power Pussycat has. Cause I always forget, because he managed to push like Robo Chicken half across the arena into the wall, just by running into it.
He flipped it over as well, didn't he?
It almost did. But
I think one of the best moments of this battle is when you see on the Sakidalock cam when he's attacking Robo Chicken, he just turns around and his lance just knocks the other eye off. He just literally catches it, just pokes it off. I think that's hilarious as well.
I mean, honestly, Robo Chicken was still technically working. It's just one of the wheels wasn't working on it because it got bent in because of the armor. Yes, and it was barely working by the end of the battle anyway. But it was a brave attempt.
That does show some reliability there. I mean, okay, yeah, sure, it's still technically a mobile, but it does show that it was reasonably reliable. If it wasn't for the fact that the wheel got jammed by the armor, they would have still been mobile.
It's why I think, in my opinion, a joke robot should also be durable. Because I mean, it's all fun having a robot that's made out of like paper and it gets killed in 2 seconds. Oh, it's funny, but then I think at the same time the reason robots like Dietor are remembered, I think, a lot more than some of the joke robots. I think it's the fact that they actually could fight as well as they were silly. And also like Jellyfish as well. Jellyfish wasn't like the best fighter in the world, but it was still able to survive some hits against some robots. And I think that's partially why, if I was making a joke robot, I'd try and make it both able to fight and also be a joke at the same time. So you can kind of root behind it and also watch it fight. And Robo Chicken's a good example of that as well, because over the time, it went from a really silly robot to actually a reasonably good fighter and a very unlucky robot, in fact, in later series.
Definitely
So,
so.
I mean, it's great. It's a great robot, and obviously we get to see this robot in every other series past this in the classic series. So it's nice to see it slowly evolve into a weird robot chicken into a fairly competent robot chicken.
Yeah. It's just a shame that this series it was a foul performance.
Beautiful, beautiful. Get out.
And hang on, wait, do you hear that, James?
What?
That is everybody. Hang on, do you hear that? That is everybody's head collapsing onto their keyboard, or into their phone if they're watching this on their phone.
They've broken the phone by now after hearing that.
Yeah, they would have just thrown it on the floor and said, "Fuck this! This ain't even worth it anymore."
And then, of course, before we get to that, we actually get the second of the events. We have the Sumo, which again, for some reason, they decide to, because some of the attempts were so shit, they decided to put 2 in every heat, not 1. And we actually get 1 okay one and 1 terrible one. The terrible one, of course, is Dietor, which lasted less time than Firestorm.
Yeah, the 3 seconds.
I mean, people also feel sorry for Dietor in Series 3. I feel more sorry for them in Series 4. Taken out in the first round in 2 seconds. A terrible sumo run. And
Yes.
it's just...
They also suffer from a lot of problems anyway. That's the reason why they lost so early. Because, well, I think they would have lost anyway, to be honest. But
Yeah,
they had a lot of reliability issues.
they had no weapon and no top armor. So
Yeah.
it was kind
Well,
of...
I'll give it this, though. They did do all right in the pinball.
I mean, they did okay in the pinball. That was our only saving grace. Things. Actually, in fairness, in the Celebrity Special, it was funny with Vic Reeves. That was hilarious. That was good. But
And they beat Gemini.
somehow...
Shock horror. Gemini died.
I know. But Dietor of all robots as well.
I know.
But either way, this was it wasn't really much of a run, was it? It just kind of got pushed off and then fell off and then went.
I mean, it was funny, but sad. I mean, you just think stuff that was pathetic. Wasn't it? I mean, that's like the epitome of pathetic.
Actually, it must make. I would feel even more bitter if it was like with the Firestorm Dietor rivalry, because they both do shit in the pinball and they do slightly more shit. Of course, the one time Firestorm does shit and they still manage to do worse.
Yes.
Somehow. And then, of course, we actually have the first really, really good run was Onslaught. For a small,
a great run.
For a small robot, this robot really knew how to work, and it's a shame this robot unfortunately never made it to the main competition, because it would have done decently well. Also, it would have probably lost against Hypnodisc, but it could have had a good round in its first battle. But
yeah, I was upset. I mean, because Onslaught's one of those robots where I love it just because it's one of those underdog stories. I mean, you never expect it to do well, yet whenever it did get into the arena, apart from Series 5, it did put on a reasonably decent performance. I mean, look at this run in the Southern Annihilator, for God's sake. That was amazing. But this was, again, a really, really good run. And they nearly got a shunt off, and then shunt moved out the way and they drove off. What are you doing? Well, I'll give Onslaught this, though, all right, because, again, it's got a very wide turning circle because of the wheels. So what I'll do is, what I'll do. What I'll say is this: I'll say fair play that it was only because Shunt moved out the way when they charged it that they drove off, and not the fact that it was the steering it did.
yeah, in fact, if a robot with a very wide turning circle, a very small area to turn in, almost 17 and a half seconds isn't that bad. Come on, that's pretty. I mean, considering robots like Firestorm couldn't even last 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think they finished 4th overall.
That's really good. I mean, that's really good. So,
I mean, the only Panic is that Behemoth and Exterminator beat them.
Yeah, it's true. And obviously, that's only because 1 won and 2 managed to stay in the middle of the arena all the time. So, out of the robots that actively, out of the ones that, actively moved a lot, I think they definitely did well. I think, it was a very honourable performance. It's just a shame that this and the Southern Annihilator was the only time we got to properly see them. But,
yeah.
Oh well, they did alright in the Southern Annihilator as well, so I guess it's not too bad. And then, obviously, we get to the lovely heat final of Razer versus Pussycat. The first time, actually one of the very few times in the series where both the seeds make it to the heat final.
One of only 4 times in this whole series.
Yep, it's very rare because obviously a lot of seeds get knocked out in the first or second rounds. Quite a lot in this series. It's quite a. It's amazing how many really lower level seeds end up just being really shit in the first round.
Well, quite a few highest level seeds. I mean, when you think about it, Gravedigger and Evil Weevil.
Yep.
Both lost in the first round. trying to think who else lost in the first round now. Sugar boobs. Quite a lot. Obviously, a lot of the lower class did, and also a lot of them lost in the second round as well. I mean,
yeah, well, there wasn't many seeds that made it to the heat final, except the ones that were like really overpowered, like Chaos 2 or Hypnodisc or something like that.
yeah. I mean, even Bigger Brother lost in the second round.
Yeah, I mean,
They were 14th seeds, for God's sake.
It's weird how many heat finals weren't 2 seeds against each other. I mean, obviously, the most memorable one apart from this to me was the Behemoth Exterminator one, which is relatively memorable as well. But I mean, here it was just. I mean, also the battle wasn't really that long for the most part. I mean, it was that one lucky attack on the wheels, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hit him, and then Razer just got stuck in forward drive and just wouldn't go off. And I think this is right. This is the thing about this fight. Also, there's a little rant at the end that Ian Lewis does regarding the gentleman's agreement that these two teams had, and it's not.
Bullshit.
No, the thing is, it's fairly common for some teams to have gentleman agreements. For example, Rex Garrett of Cassius always never attacked his opponent after he knew they knocked them out. So he wasn't after house rolls afterwards. He was quite one of the more honourable members of the Robotic Society. And then their agreement was that Pussycat or Razer was not allowed to attack each other if they'd broken down, because obviously both robots are quite delicate, I guess, in some ways. And Pussycat thought Razer was still mobile because they were running into the wall in forward drive and the wheels were still spinning. They thought they were stuck. So they went after the wheels, and then they realised, oh shit, they're stuck in forward drive, we should probably stop attacking them now.
Yes.
But obviously, Ian Lewis took it as, oh, they broke the gentleman's agreement.
Yes.
And I find it funny how Ian Lewis is going slightly moany about this, considering the fact he ripped off all the wheels in the handbook and started ripping into the armour. And his excuse was, we didn't touch any electronics. But you still fucked up the robot, mate.
Yes. and I mean, the way I look at it as well is, I mean, he turned around and acted as if he purposely grabbed them in places which wouldn't damage the internals. But how would you know that, considering 1 milliamp bug isn't a see-through robot, and 2, how would you know how far to put your claw down to make sure it didn't touch any of the vitals? I mean, if anything, it seems like he's making up for the fact that his robot could not actually destroy them internally, so he had to go for the wheels as a last resort.
And also, you mentioned it before, there's that one bit early in the battle where he actually tried to break the segments in half. How is that? How is that not vitally damaging to the robot? I'm sure breaking a robot in half is quite damaging.
Yes,
but either way,
I'll say this about he's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I used to hate Ian Lewis, in all honesty, because of this moment and because of another one which we'll get to when we get to it. But in all, I've calmed down a lot. I don't hate Ian Lewis at all. I mean, hate's a strong word anyway. I don't even dislike him. I think he's a really nice guy these days, and I can understand that a robot that you put a lot of time and effort into taking damage is quite a horrible thing to have. But at the same time, you can't go into a show like this without expecting to get damaged.
Yeah.
Especially when your robot is what many consider to be, the epitome of a robot that deals damage.
And also a robot that is willing to damage other robots, but doesn't want his own robot to get damaged. It's kind of, it's just kind of, it was a weird kind of double standard he was kind of implying in that little rant at the end. But again, I don't really care about it now. It's just one of the things that happened. I do think it's a lot less justified than in Series 9 with Behemoth and Pritchard, of course. That was more different. This feels a lot more petty in comparison.
Yes.
And it's clearly partially out of misunderstanding that he thought the Pussycat team were breaking the agreement, and partially because he didn't want his robot to get damaged too much. But in the end, it didn't get damaged that badly. It was just some of the wheel bearings fell off and the little roller things fell off. It wasn't irreparable. It was just the wheels that got slightly fucked up.
And the house robots pitted it almost immediately.
Exactly, they didn't really do any damage to it, so
yeah, their metal literally grabbed it and just threw it down the pit.
I mean, you didn't see him in the interview at the end, did you? Like, because obviously you had Simon and Vinny there, but then he just kind of pissed off on his own. And
he went on to check the machine out.
And the funny thing was, actually, you could tell actually how the other two weren't that bothered.
Yeah, they weren't. No, they weren't. They weren't bothered. They turned around and, Simon Scott even turned around and said, "Yeah, but this is what it's about. It's about getting mangled." And then Vinny Blood, lad that he is, you egg-headed bastard, turned around and said, "We love you, Vinny, if you're watching." He turned around and said, the way I look at it is, we've won, damn near enough everything else. We just can't seem to get this one. But next year we'll get it. And yeah, they went and got it the next year. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, it's just a shame. I think because of this one incident, people for the rest of the series, to a certain extent, labelled Razer as like the new Mortis. That's sort of like
Yeah.
a team to hate, a team not to like, and it was just one silly thing that Ian Lewis did. And honestly, I don't really care about it as much now. It's just one of the things you look back on and go, "Oh God, what a stupid thing you were doing. What are you doing, Ian? What are you doing?" As opposed,
I mean, to the point where even he's admitted it was stupid.
yeah, exactly. He doesn't.
I mean, there were some people out there who actually believed that feud they had in Extreme One was real, which it wasn't.
It was just. I mean, half the grudges in Extreme One were just excuses to have some robots fight each other.
Yeah, that vengeance battle basically, right? I mean, they sorted out their issues long before that battle happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point where he actually Ian admitted that he was wrong. He shouldn't have snapped and all that sort of stuff. And the teams got on fine after that.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that after the battle they took time to get the cameras out for him to do a little speech in front of the camera at the end over the credits. And I think like if it was something like it just happened off camera and he'd been annoyed about it and people reported it, then it's something different. But then if he took the time and even I don't know if he said to the camera crew, the camera crew said, "Oh, do you want to do a little speech now because you're clearly pissed off, want to film it." I don't know what happened, but either way, only Ian can really say what happened. But it's just
I think what it was basically it's the same with Ant Pritchard basically because he walked off.
Yeah.
And the team turned, they asked him, was he upset? And the team turned around and barely defended him, really. Someone said, yeah, he's gone off, whatever. And I think he was just really wanting to try and explain himself to the audience.
Yeah, I guess so. But either way, it just comes. I mean,
now
at
the same time, it came across as petty. I know.
It's again, yeah. In comparison, the one with Ant Pritchard and Behemoth, I felt a lot more sorry for him because I mean, a lot of people. I mentioned it obviously when we were before, but I really hate the fact that the media kept saying, "Oh, it's because they were kids," and it was just the fact he was just annoyed at the weapon. The team went for a different weapon. He didn't want to choose it, and they lost because of it. They definitely lost because of that decision. And as a result, he was just pissed off, and just rather than getting annoyed at the kids for no reason or looking like more of an arsehole, he decided just to get himself out of the situation and leave. Ian Lewis kind of. In this particular moment, Ian Lewis is kind of like, no, stop attacking our robot. No fair. Shut up. And it looked kind of childish in retrospect. And obviously he's not like that now. It's fine. But you can look back on this instant and you just go, oh, Ian, what are you doing? What are you doing, Ian? But either way, it doesn't stop the fact that actually the battle was very uneventful for the most part. It was just a few hits, really. But either way, the battle.
But again, despite that's one thing. Again, despite the fact it wasn't much of a battle, it was still very, very memorable.
Not because of the battle itself, because it was like 2 hits and then Razer was like out. So yeah.
Well, I'd say that technically it was because also it was I mean this was still a major upset by this point.
Oh yeah, considering that obviously because not because I think it's the highest seeds, but because this was seen as Razor's year as well, because they could have defeated Pussycat quite well, I think. Because
I've just realised something. Every time Craig Charles said to a team, "I think this could be your year," the next battle they actually died.
Yeah.
He said it to Forces as well the next year. He said it to Wheelie Big Cheese in the Heat final. He's Craig, stop cursing everyone.
In that case, Darrow Breen, please say that to Carbide. Please say that to Carbide. Please, for the love of God, say it again. Say it again. But okay, but
we love Carbide.
No, I love Carbide, but I'm already sick of it. Anyway, jokingly, of course. But anyway, overall, out of 10, what would you give Heat B?
8.
I'd probably give it a 7.5.
Fair enough.
Slightly lower, I think, only because the shitty sumo run for one of the teams, and also I think some of the battles were a bit quick and weren't as amazing. But like the Heat final was a little bit quick, considering how controversial it was. But apart from that, it was still a great Heat and a lot of fun robots. Shame I can't say about Heat C. Which, of course, as I mentioned in my last series, Heat C is my least favourite Heat of Series 3. It's my least favourite Heat of Series 4, and I believe it's also your least favourite as well, Anson, I believe.
It is definitely my least favourite Heat of Series 4. We were actually discussing this before we went online, guys, on this, that, to be honest, the majority of Heat Cs were quite bad. Heat 1's, Heat...
Wait, don't go into detail with every single Heat.
Yeah,
but I mean...
apart from Series 5's Heat C, I wasn't a massive fan of any of the Heat Cs.
I mean, would you argue Heat C of Series 4 is in your top 5 least favourite of all time?
Easily.
Yeah, it's in my top. It's my top 10 at least. I mean, I haven't made that list yet, but I might in the future. But this is definitely a bad heat. It's a shame 'cause it contains my favourite robot of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, we have, of course, we have the fifth seed, Firestorm 2, who, of course, I mentioned this before in the pinball run last heat with Alex, but I think the whole reason they lost is because they had the inverted paint job. I can't. I mean, think about it. After Series 5, they changed it back to what they had in Series 3, and they started doing well again. So I think personally that was the reason why.
I don't really know what they were thinking with the inverted paint job.
And obviously,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked it because, my favourite colour is red. It was nice to see more red than yellow. But it just didn't seem right on Firestorm.
it didn't look. It just.
And
Looked,
I didn't like the fact that they'd gone with squares either. Like, it deserves circles, not squares, damn it.
yeah, because it's even the Series 3 version, as not as effective as the Flipper was. It had the circles on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in this version of Firestorm, it seems to have 2 rounds where potentially, in the eyes of some people, it didn't deserve to go through, which is quite bad for a grand finalist. To have 2 battles in your heat where it's controversial and people are debating whether you should have gone through or not. That's not very good, is it?
No.
Particularly for my favorite. I mean, I will admit this is probably Firestorm's most embarrassing year for many reasons. I mean, they have 2 controversial battles. They have a really shit sumo run, and unfortunately, the one time they do really well, they get screwed over against Dominator 2. And then obviously they have a shit tag team terror with a Scorpion. It was like, what was wrong with this series? It just.
I mean, it was. I mean, it could all. I mean, like, you could argue that it did alright in the tag team because it came second technically, but I don't think it should have beaten Bigger Brother and Blunderbird.
I agree. It shouldn't have. It was just a terrible partner it was with.
I mean, Bigger Brother owned that battle. In all fairness, it actually showed us what it was capable of before it, outside of its heat.
Yeah, and it was just. I mean, it's almost like this series was like complete shambles for Firestorm in many aspects. But again, at least in Series 5 onwards, they actually do show, but they get back to form. I mean, hell, they still made it to semi-finals, so
Yeah.
they still managed to have that streak of never not making it to semi-finals. They've constantly done it, so yeah, it's something. Oh, this is the series where definitely, if they were going to not do it, it would have been this series.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Then of course we have the Morgue, another robot that again seems to have got very, very luckily into the heat final.
Yes.
I mean, twice they were very, very lucky. But here's the thing. I mean, I love the Morgue team. To be fair, they're great.
R.I.P. Dorian Cordy.
Of course, did he die recently?
June last year, nearly a year ago, he died.
A year ago,
He had a brain aneurysm, I think it was.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, I love that Welsh guy so much. He was like the heart of the entire team, and one of the few really prominent Welsh teams along with Panic Attack, really, and Apollo and stuff. And it's just, I mean, the robots themselves were never that good. Let's face it, they were never really amazing. But the team really made this robot more than it was, like Sir Chromalot.
Yes.
And of course, they weren't as flashy as Sir Chromalot, but they always had the little sheep. They always had the stupid. They had the great comical Welsh accent, which I still love the Welsh accent. It's a great accent for comedy.
They're amazing singing.
And in fact, it's just completely yellow. All the robots were just yellow. Admittedly, we are Welsh. We don't care.
I liked it in Series 7. Strengths. Yeah, it's sort of strength yellow, dangerous, weakness yellow, easily seen.
And of course, they appeared in techno games.
It's yellow like a bee.
And of course, they appeared in techno
They
games.
did with Torty.
And also Cybernetic in Series 2, and actually came joint second in the penalty kick, which was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, that robot was really well made.
And with Torty, they came third. They got bronze in the Sumo.
Yeah, so they didn't do that bad, really, overall. It's just that, I mean, again, R.I.P. Dorian Cordy, but you were great, and your whole team, your robots weren't that great, but you made up for it more than they ever could. Then, of course, we have Bolt from the Blue, arguably one of the more unlucky robots of this series. Again, some people debate whether to this day whether they deserve to beat Firestorm. We'll get into that when we actually talk about it, but it was very, very close as to who could have gone out in that one, but it's just down to just certain very minor aspects. Also, represent from Kendall, not too far from me. Just saying.
That explains a lot.
Hey, shut up. It's like a half an hour train journey for me, so I can get there.
It's also the only robot I think of that was from the Lake District.
I think so. Yeah. There's not. Cumbria in general didn't have many good robots coming out of it. at all, really.
I don't think it had any apart from Bolt from the Blue.
Actually,
Maybe? I don't know.
actually, oh, here we go. Actually, says on the wiki they're the only robots to qualify for the main competition from Cumbria. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
The county
Damn
with
it, Cumbria, come on.
the county with only one city. Why are we surprised? But there we go. Carlisle. Why do I know that? Why do I know that? Why do I know that? I'm too close to Cumbria. I'm too close to it. I can almost see the hills of Cumbria from my house. So you know, I can't see.
It's a beautiful county, though.
Yeah, the robot itself though, it's just your average wedge flipper, really. Let's face it. I think the thing it would be better if the panel was larger, because it looks a bit
and if it had more than 5 flips.
Yeah, it looked a bit too flimsy, the flipper, and the lack of flippability was kind of. It wasn't Apollo levels, but it obviously wasn't. Yeah, still not great. It's not the most interesting looking robot either. It's just like a black wedge with a little flipper on it. But it's still competent. It still worked, so can't complain too much. Then of course we have possibly the best version of this series of robots, in my opinion, Ming 2. I think it's the best one. Before they started going, we'll just copy Razer at this point. I actually
Not a Razer copy.
It is a Razer copy, let's face it.
No, it isn't. His reason for doing it was because he wanted to do something different, and a Crusher was something he hadn't done before.
It's not really, but it just kind of had that vague vibe of Razer.
You may as well call Firestorm a Cassius copy when it isn't. There's no such thing as a copy. All right, I'm sorry, this isn't that really bugs me, but there's only so many designs you can do. Okay, does that mean that that any wedge shaped robot is a copy is a rip off of a La Machine?
Mate, I was only saying that because I knew you would get annoyed at it.
Oh, you're an asshole, man.
I knew that would get you. I knew you'd start ranting about.
You know me too well. I hate you, man. Seriously.
I mean, I only like this version of Ming 2 the best, mainly because I like the fact it's very sleek and low. Like I like him trying something different, the Claw in Series 5, but I like this one because I like the little panel flipper on it. I like the fact it kind of comes out of a little secret bit at the top. It's kind of cool, and it's just a shame that it just kind of kept breaking down this particular series. Like also against Frenzy in the War of Independence, and this time against Morg out of all robots. In this one, it
was very unlucky because it would have been interesting to see it go up against Firestorm. 2 very competent front hinge flippers going up against one another.
It'd been cool, but it has a little vibe to it. Did you ever see the American Extreme Warriors, the American series?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember a robot called Dragbot?
Yes.
Looks a bit like it.
Yeah.
Okay, similar. That one was a saw, and this is a flipper on it.
I'll also say this as well. This is another one of those robots where you think to yourself, good God, this one actually holds a title to well, Ming 3 technically holds a title to its name. It won the International Tag Team Championship with Rick of all robots.
Wow.
In the American series.
Jesus Christ.
It won that with Rick. So there you go. That is it. So yes, this robot, they beat Cat 3 and Bigger Brother in the first round. Let that sink in for a moment, lads.
It's a far cry from the Ming from Series 3. Jesus Christ. That robot broke down in 2 seconds and its saw fell off. This one actually worked and actually managed to flip Dietor over in like 5 seconds. That was impressive. That was bloody impressive, I'll say that much. I mean, that alone made me even more disappointed they lost to Morg.
Yes.
Or I should say, they should have lost to Scar, but
yes.
Yeah, Scar didn't really work at all.
These segues write themselves.
They did. I mean, is it the guys who owned Eric or something? The same guys that own Eric, I think, have Scar.
No, but basically, both Eric and Scar were sold.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Then they were owned by the same team.
That was it. Yeah.
And now, if I'm right in thinking, Dave Laurie owns Scar.
Really?
From Nuts, I think so. I think that's what Sam said. I can't remember 100%, but I think that's what happened. And Eric obviously got sold to. I can't remember his name now. Sorry, dude. The guy who always posts Eric on the Robot Wars Facebook pages. Matt something.
And it's such a shame Eric has been rejected again for Series 10. We want Eric. We need more Eric. God damn it.
We need the Eric. Damn it.
Haven't they tried to apply for every series of the new series? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
But Scar itself, actually, to its credit, I think Scar looks kind of nice. I like the aesthetic it's going for it. Like the kind of the rusty sort of old metal look to it. And I kind of like the kind of big chunky tires on it, and they actually thought to put some protection on the tires, even though it's at the back, not the front.
Yeah.
But
I like the idea as well of the disc because it's actually 2 discs counter rotating.
It's a good idea, but unfortunately, it's just not very powerful.
No.
and
Well,
also
well,
lots of ground clearance to be flipped over all over the place.
yes. Also, just a quick shout out, Leamington Spa, near my hometown of Warwick. Get in.
Also, it did lead to one of the funniest introductions for a robot. Its home
Yeah.
name rhymed with with the
Yeah.
robot.
From Leamington Spa, Scar.
Couldn't have timed that timing better, could they?
I'm gonna move to Sark, and I'm gonna make a robot called Shark. And I'm gonna enter from Sark, Shark. Just
Oh,
do that.
if only I had invented the master, I'd be living right now.
Yeah.
But
Fantastic. The master. That's brilliant.
but Scar, honestly, it's quite an average to slightly mediocre robot. But it's not. Again, it's not terrible. It just didn't really do anything. It didn't have any competition. I mean, honestly, what could it do against Firestorm or Morg? Seriously, nothing. it didn't do anything. It got flipped over most of the time.
It's a very good concept. It just needed to be thought out a little bit more.
I agree. Yeah, it's just a shame they never really appeared again because they sold the robot and then just
Yeah.
didn't enter at all. But it looks nice at least. And then finally, we have the unfortunate return of Dietor. Dietor is... again, we mentioned this before, but this is probably a shit series for Dietor. It's just... They didn't do anything. They got flipped over in like 2 seconds. It just didn't do very well. And Anton doesn't seem to be with me at the moment. Are you still there? Oh, I think Dietor's performance was so... Oh, is that... Are you back now? Oh, no.
Hello?
Hello? You still there? No, this is...
Hello?
Oh, this is going so well, this. Jesus Christ. This is professionalism at its finest, folks. We have just lost Anderson. But, not much else to say on this heat, honestly. Just Dietor didn't do very well. I'll try and get back. I'll try and get back to Anderson, but if not, I don't seem to be able to get back to him. I'll just finish the last bit on my own and we can finish this off. Of course, Dietor did not do very well. It just failed pretty badly. And it did no top armor, no weapon. It just failed. It failed so badly, and it's such a shame that they just... It's frustrating, it really is. I wanted to see Dietor do better. And the team looked so gutted. And Anderson just saying, tell him I said I was upset the team looked gutted. They were fucking gutted. They looked so unfortunate. I mean, all that time and effort, and they were overweight, I had to take bits off it, the weapon didn't work, and they got flipped over in 2 seconds by Ming 2. Technical...
Hello?
Hello, are you back?
Yes, I think so.
I was just talking on my own there, just to try and get the...
I know, I can hear... I've been able to hear you completely.
Good. Well, I was just...
I've heard everything you said.
Yeah, the recording was done. This is professionalism again, as I said, but...
Yes.
Yeah, Dietor...
Yeah, they did look gutted.
At least in Series 5 they took out Tornado. That's honestly one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen in Robot Wars. But yeah, sorry for Skype interference. That was just a thing that happens. I'll keep it as a blooper reel because it's raw. It's very kind of it kind of summarised Dietor's failure in a way. So it kind of doesn't really. It kind of adds to it, if anything. I mean, it wasn't much else. Luckily, it was the very last. It always seems to happen. Like with Alex, his computer kept freezing, like near the end, and he would just go, and I had to keep editing. Like I'd have to start talking. Like I go, okay. Anyway, as I was saying, like that kind of stuff.
That's you more than us.
Yeah, shut up. Hey, you started failing this time, so don't you start? Oh yeah, I'm still remembering when I was doing Sam's hit. First time I was on Sam's podcast for Heat 5 of Series 8. Your caravan shenanigans. Jesus, you started.
Yeah, that was in a caravan, yo. Come on, give me some respect.
No. Northern caravans are way better than that. Come on.
I don't think so, mate.
You haven't lived until you've been in a Northern caravan. Anyway, we're completely off track. Of course, this is still recording, folks. I mean, it's like we've got no dignity for the audience at this point. We just don't care. But either way, yeah, this is that'll be a Heat C. This was actually quite a good Heat B. For Heat C, I'll be also joined by Sam Elliott as well, along with Anderson. So enjoy 2-for-1 deal on
the dream team. the dream team.
The dream team, and also it's the first time you two have been on with me, because also you were there with the Simon Harrison one, but you two together by yourselves with me. The first time, so like a little family reunion. Yay! So yeah, I'm Jimjamatic signing off.
I'm Anderson 9132. Nothing snappy's coming after that.
Okay, I thought you just cut off again then.
Uh...
All right then. So yeah, bye.